All right. Good morning, everybody. I hope today finds you well. Welcome to this Wednesday, May 21st. May 21st, 2025. Can you believe it? This is episode 2000. Who knows? I got to do the numbers. I'll probably have the number for tomorrow. Um, yeah, interesting stuff. So today we're going to have a conversation of how, as entrepreneurs, we are going to benefit from understanding how shame operates. I think we're getting a handle on entrepreneurs have gotten a handle on understanding their shame, and some haven't. Some are in their presentations still have some very shameful parts to it that make them the authority as opposed to the author. Big difference. Um, so that's what I wanted to chat with you about today is about this understanding of how the neurobiology of shame, we can create the shame loop. A lot of times people will show up to us uh, wanting to break the loop, right? What do people say to you when they want to join your business? Man, I need more time freedom. I need more money freedom. I need better health. They need something more. Does that make sense? Doesn't matter whether it's network marketing, traditional business, traditional sales, whether you're providing wellness practices, or anytime somebody shows up to you. I shouldn't say that's a carte blanche. The majority of times when people show up in your world asking you for help, doesn't matter if you're selling an online product, an online training, something you put together, they want to break a pattern. Does that make sense? They want to break a cycle. And oftentimes, sometimes, we're even having a conversation with them about a cycle they didn't know they're in, a loop they didn't know they were in. Does that make sense? When you start to show somebody how they can get healthier, don't they have to realize first that they're in a sickness loop, a non wellness loop? When you're going to go show somebody how to run a business, create a part time business, a side hustle, doesn't it become more aware that they don't understand the hustle? So I want to have a little conversation with you about the hidden shame loop that every entrepreneur and every in that exists in every conversation, every entrepreneurial exchange. You realize that's what you do when you talk to somebody, right? When you talk to somebody about your business or about them better, if you're looking to betterer, I know that's not a word for those of you on YouTube, but that's a kind of word we play around with here inside the Misfit community. When you want to help people betterer to improve their life, you have an entrepreneurial exchange. You have something you believe would be of value to them. This is what my dad said: be a professional salespeople. People say, "Oh, I don't like sales." It's why you it's why you suck at it. When you fall in love with sales, sales is the transference of enthusiasm. And if you're not enthusiastic about what you do, about what you could provide, about what you could offer, about what loop you could break, you are literally not excited about it, and you're not that good at sales. And a professional salesperson understands how to sell what they need, not what they want. Because what they want, they get buyer's remorse. I wanted that, but I didn't get it. Buyer's remorse. I wanted that, but I didn't get it. Buyer's remorse. And so then what happens to the shame loop? See, I'm no good at buying stuff. So here's the truth most people in leadership never talk about, especially in entrepreneurship and especially in networking. Shame is in the room. Shame is in the room, not just yours, everyone. Everyone's shame. And until you recognize that, you'll keep misreading hesitation, you'll keep misreading delay, and you'll keep misreading silence as rejection. Do I need to say that again? I'm going to say that again. Shame is in the room. Not just yours. Everyone's shame is in the room. Everyone's shame. And the faster you recognize that, the sooner you recognize that, until you recognize that, you'll keep misreading hesitation, delay, hey, Jameson, silence as rejection. And what does rejection do to your shame loop? It's not any of those. It's protection. It's they're protecting themselves. It's you protecting yourself by saying, I'm not good enough. Right? So why it's so important for us as leaders, as folks who want growth in their life, as an entrepreneur. See, too many people say, well, I'm an entrepreneur. No, you're really not. You're somebody who tries, and every now and then you dabble in the world of sales. You think you're doing good by putting a post up. You're not an entrepreneur. You're not an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur starts with an end in mind. An entrepreneur starts with an end in mind. 90% of the population who are in some kind of business don't start out to sell it. That's really the definition of an entrepreneur, is they're going to go sell something. They're going to go create something, sell it, build it, and then sell it and start a new thing. Can't call yourself an entrepreneur if you haven't started the thing you're doing. I'm just saying. How much is your current business worth? That'll tell you how much of an entrepreneur you are. I listen, it's not Monday Morning Smacks, it's Wednesday Wealth Day. I want to awaken this idea that you have some great skills. And if you're feeling uncomfortable about this, that's your shame loop. That's it protecting you for not doing your work. Well, you don't understand how things work in my world, Sean. No, that's not, you can't use that answer. That's a shame answer. That's you shaming yourself. I'm not shaming you. You're here because you said you wanted more in life. So as an entrepreneur, especially someone who leads others, builds a network, or guides someone through transformation, isn't that what we're really doing? Isn't that what you truly want to do, is to guide people through transformation? I mean, seriously, not through change. You guide people through change if they start your business and go back, start your business and go back. And man, I enroll a bunch of people, but nobody sticks. That's called changing people's lives, not transforming them. It's critical to understand that shame is just a personal emotion. It's a social operating system. It's the way we operate in public. It's the way we feel in private. Shame is wired. It's wired in how people respond to new opportunities, new conversations, new visions of themselves, new versions of themselves. Aren't we literally asking people to shift identities? Right? Think about it. You have a skill, you have a talent, you have a gift, you have a business. And if somebody doesn't operate, take that business on, take that skill on, use the traits, the secrets, the talents, the experiences you have, we take it as it's our fault. My mentor said to me, be responsible to them, not for them. And if nobody's using your stuff, you become a little bit more hesitant to share your stuff. And then you wind up not sharing any of your stuff. You wind up sharing scripts and slides and PDFs. And who the hell wants PDFs when they were asking for transformation? I have 3 questions that I typically engage people with that allow me the opportunity, the permission to tap dance into their shame loops. First question, do I have your permission to help? What's the hardest thing for people to ask for? Help. So if you're not getting any permission for them to help you, for you to help them, if they're not wanting any help, there's people who do not want to help. They will talk your ear off and they will tell you all of their problems. And they will tell you all of the problems that you have the solution for. And they do not want your help. They just want to show up and hear themselves talk about their pain and their suffering and their complaining. And I can't help you with that. So when I ask the question, do I have your permission to help? It's based upon a target, a direction, a place on the compass that we're going to head off in that direction. And it's the thing I'm good at. It's the thing you're good at. If you're not there to help them with the thing you're not good at. So you can only help them. Your goal is to only help them with the thing you're good at. The challenge is that they don't necessarily want it. Which is why I come to my second question. Do I have permission to make you feel uncomfortable? Isn't that the soiree, the the access into the shame loop? Oh, there's so much science behind these simple, fundamental questions. So, when you ask someone to say yes to change, to ask them to say yes to transformation, you're not just offering them hope. You are pressing on every part of the brain that's trying to avoid being seen. You're pressing on every part of the brain that's avoiding of being judged. And you're pressing on every part of every cell in their body that's wanting to avoid. Here's the big one. What's the big one? Avoiding wanting to be wrong. I hope I'm doing a good enough job to get this across. It's not your presentation that sucks. It's not. It's really not. It's not you got to get a better script. It's not you got to get better skills. It's not maybe you need a little more practice. It's you're showing up in your shame loop, battling their shame loop, and the two of you can't intertwine. And you're simply changing them. You're like pushing on a balloon. Oh, I changed them. I showed them the presentation. They got it. Yeah, they got it. But their balloon is going to go back to its normal shape and they're going to forget it. And they're never going to talk to you again. Because we triggered their shame loop. And then in their mind, you become a person that makes them feel uncomfortable. What? But I wanted to help them. You know how you made them feel uncomfortable? Is when we say, the presenter says things like, this would be so good for them. So what's the resistance? It shows up in words like this. I'll think about it. I don't want to be pushy. I'm not sure I'm ready. That's the logical hesitation. It's the emotional survival rooted in shame patterns. Does this make sense? It's the emotional survival rooted in old shame patterns. Do you realize that when you're talking to somebody and you're offering them transformation, you're offering them change, you're offering them to spend a lot of money, that you might be talking to the 5-year-old version of them, the teenager who is abruptly told that they're no good, that they can't spell English, that they are horrible at spelling. Do you realize you could be talking to the 22-year-old that was left at the altar. You're not talking to the 30, 40, 50-year-old who's sitting in front of you. You're talking to the emotional shame loop that is so absolutely powerful that it can show up whenever it wants. Some of you, I might have triggered your shame loop already. And that's okay. Become aware of it. Go, isn't that fascinating? Because the one who started listening to the call is probably somebody who's a little bit different now. So how does shame work in the brain of the buyer? How does shame work in the brain of the prospect? How does shame work in the brain of somebody who you're wanting to help educate on what it is you do? Listen carefully. How fast is a millisecond? Isn't that a thousandth of a second? A millisecond. When we look at Olympians, gold medal and silver medal are separated by what? Minutes? Mm-mm. Seconds? Mm-mm. Tenths of seconds. The difference typically between silver and gold is tenths of a second, which is an eternity. A tenth of a second is an eternity in your brain when it's searching for the shame loop. So when someone is offered an opportunity, when someone is offered a product or to become part of a team or to buy a business or join a business, they go through a neural scan in milliseconds. And when they go through this neural scan, what do you think some of the questions are they're going to ask? Type them in the chat. What do you think some of the questions are that go through their brain when I say, hey, here's a great opportunity, here's a product, here's a side hustle, here's a gig, here's a this, here's a that? What do you think are some of the challenges, the questions that pop up in the brain? I want you to think about it. I want you to just type anything down. There's no wrong answer. See if you're resisting. Yeah, what do I have to do here? Exactly. What's the big one? What's the big one somebody's going to ask? What's the big one? Can I do this? And you know what? It's not even, can I do this? The first question they're going to ask, what does the brain look for? What are the two things the brain looks for? What are the two things the brain looks for? Will this kill me? Or how fast could I recognize the pattern? First question they typically ask is, will I fail again? Write that down in your books. When you have a conversation with somebody, the first thing going through their brain, when you are offering them transformation, when you are offering them transition, when you are offering them the ability to shift from one part of their life to the next part of their life, the first thing that's going through their mind is, will I fail? Here's the key word, again. Scan your own experiences. How many of you may have said, I did it again. I'm not good at this. I don't know why I keep trying this. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your protection from your new level. Will I fail again? I'd offer you to write these questions down, because when you start to look at your conversations and your presentations, you'll begin to understand where your prospect, your subject, your client disengaged because they ask these questions. Here's another question. Will this expose me? Will this expose me? Another question. What if I can't follow through? How many of you did think that is the subconscious message that runs through the majority of people? What if I can't follow through? Here's the one that used to get me, right? Here's the one that would get me. What if they think I'm stupid? What if they think I'm stupid? All happening, some in a conscious awareness, the majority subconsciously. Even some still unconsciously. What if I succeed and lose everything later? What? Could you imagine? Listen carefully. Now, I want you to shift. I want you to shift. I want you to shift. I want you to transition to the entrepreneur, not to the one who's feeling bad. I want you to shift into your gift. Take a big breath. Know that you're a solid person. Know that you're a good person. Know that you want more for them than they want for themselves at this particular moment. And I want you to experience, I want you to have the feeling in your body of what would be your response. I want your shoulders to pop up a little bit. I want you to have a little bit of authority. And if somebody said to you, with all of their heart exposed, with all of their passion exposed, with all of their desire exposed, they said, will I fail again? What's the feeling in your body? I want you to pay attention to the feeling in your body. If you heard the way I asked, will I fail again? Versus me asking myself, well, am I going to fail again? If I could ask with help, if I could sincerely ask you, will I fail again? And you, the presenter, you, the giver, you, the speaker, answers that. How would you answer that? Would you say, yeah, probably? Because that's what your presentation says. When there's no space for them to say no. See, we say go for no. There's books out there, powerful books out there that say go for no. But it's my belief, my interpretation, right? And under my interpretation, my opinion is like eyebrows. Everybody's got a couple. Is that it goes for the no of the resistance. It goes for the no of the rejection. It goes for the no of shame. You got to go through the no's. Man, doesn't that just invigorate the shame loop? If you're forcing people to say no, and you're supposed to hear it as, well, they rejected me and I got to get tougher and I need to go through the rejection. Isn't the rejection the protection they're using to avoid their own shame? How many shames do you want to go through? What if they said this? What if they said this with all of their vulnerability and their heart on the table, wearing it on their sleeve? Will this expose me? What would you say? Well, what if I can't follow through? What if your presentation was around these questions? What if in your conversations you said most often, listen, as I work with people, one of the first questions they ask, consciously, unconsciously, is, will I fail again? You want to watch somebody's eyes lock on you? Do you want to watch somebody lean into you? Holy crap, that's me. I'm asking that question right now. Does this make sense? This is what's called limbic friction. There's no words. When I asked you, if I came to you and said, will I fail again? Words didn't show up. Didn't you have a feeling? Drop an F in the chat if you had a feeling, if you had an emotion. Will I fail again? Will this expose me? Do you realize that's your limbic friction? You're doing something you're a little uncomfortable with, and you're hearing somebody say, pleading for help. You're uncomfortable. They want help. It's limbic friction. It's truly limbic friction. There are no words in your limbic system. The limbic system is the emotional brain. It's the system, the limbic system. So it includes the amygdala. It includes the hippocampus, scanning for any past threat that feels familiar. Listen carefully. I want you to think of some of the people you know who turn your crank, push your buttons. Is any of that predictable? If a situation pops up and you think, oh, I know how Michelle is going to react. Isn't that the programming? Isn't that understanding their shame loop, their protection? Isn't the way they're going to respond a level of protection for them to maintain who they are? And you think, or you're told, go show the program. You're told, talk to people. Yeah, talk to people. Understand that you're asking them to leave their shame loop behind. Here's the challenge. You are speaking to the wound of shame. And the scan, when they scan their shame loop and they realize they're still wounded, it sets off a protective no, even, listen carefully, even when the logical brain wants to say yes. How many times have you had that? Man, I really want this, but no, no. Oh man, I could do this. Would be no. The no is the unhealed shame loop. And the logical yes is, this would be cool. This would be good. How many of you have bought books you've never opened? What? How many of you have bought programs that you buy again, and when you go to log in, it says this email already exists, and you're like, I don't own this thing, and sure enough, you submit, please resend a new password, reset the password, and you own the program. That's because your shame, your unhealed shame loop said, no, you can't use this. You won't use this. You're not going to be any good. This is going to make you fail. It's going to expose you. It's going to keep you from following through. It's going to make people think you're stupid if you use this. Literally happening at an unconscious, subconscious level. If you're a little mad, drop an M in the chat. And it's not mad because you're like, oh, what? This is ridiculous. Yes, no, this is no, stop. And so here's the thing, pay attention. Who's in charge? Who's in charge listening to this right now? You can argue all you want. Arguing is defending the shame loop. Well, how do I let this go? Acknowledge it like an addict. I have some shame loops that are pretty freaking strong. Isn't that fascinating? And I love that. Well, I don't love that. Until you do, it won't go away. Until you hit rock bottom, and rock bottom is falling in love with the part of you that you don't want to see anymore. And soon as you do, it seems to lose its authority. Anybody have anybody quit their business? What? No, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that means for have people no longer get their subscribe and save, their auto ship, their monthly purchase. You know what buyer's remorse really is? It's disappointment. It's emotional backlash. It's someone's shame voice kicking in after the dopamine. Dopamine, we know dopamine. That's the happy drug. That's the thing that keeps us scrolling. Dopamine, 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 dopamine. Maybe somebody will record that little link and make a new song, right? I'll become famous because of a dopamine meme. The dopamine of saying yes wears off and the shame voice kicks in. Why did I think I could do this? Anybody ever say that? Anybody know anybody ever say that? I never finished anything before. They'll find out I'm a fraud. Now I'm responsible. And that scares me. So they ghost. They cancel. Not because you said the wrong thing, because their nervous system just got overwhelmed. Now, some of you may be feeling a little bit responsible. Oh my gosh, I triggered that in somebody. I didn't want that. I didn't want that. That's your shame loop, thinking that you're inferior. My mentor said to this, my speaking mentor, the father of public speaking, Bill Gove, said, be responsible to them, not for them. That takes away your shame loop of, I just want to help people. I want to help you. I cannot and will not help you if you are not going to help yourself. My sanity doesn't allow for that. My rules don't allow for me to be taken down a road that we both know isn't a good road. Tell me where you're going, not where you've been, is my way of saying, if you want to talk about the past, go talk to Google. We'll bring up your past for the places where you continue to repeat failure, and then we'll talk about success. But I do not need to hear why you failed, how come you continue to fail, what's your continual story. I won't go there. Yet we let people go because we want them to talk. Well, I want them to feel like they're part of the conversation. I'm not going to be a part of your failure conversation. My goal is to help you have more of what you want and less of what you don't, to take you to places you've never been. If you're taking me to places you're comfortable with, those are failure places. How do I know that? Because you're not where you want to be. Period. Full stop. End of story. But no, I've had some failures, temporary successes. I've had some wins, temporary wins. They're not transformative wins. They were change wins. Why? Because you're right back where the hell you've been. Right? Yes? So now understand that you have to pay attention to the words people use, not just they say volume and then you respond with leadership. Doesn't work that way. Their nervous system gets overwhelmed. So when your shame tries to meet their shame, what happens? When their shame loop shows up, when they do something that triggers you, and you're like, oh, I made them feel bad. That's your shame loop. Do you want to make them feel bad? No. Was your intent to make them feel bad? Then why do you feel bad they feel bad? Wait, what? See, you probably didn't ask the 3 questions. I asked you the 2 questions. Sometimes people don't answer the 3rd question correctly, and we don't have a conversation. So first question, repeat. Here it is. Do I have your permission to help? Yeah. Well, see, it's kind of a misleading question. I say misleading. People really want help. And they think it's an odd question to ask. So they answer it. 9 times out of 10, they answer it positively, affirmatively. Yes. Yes, please help. See, we haven't started activating the shame loops that I'm going to help them through. So it's easier now to ask them, is it okay if I help? Offer some assistance? Don't have to take it, but I'm going to offer you help. Not going to listen to your whining, moaning, complaining, bitching. I'm no good. I'm not going to listen to your shame loops. I'm not going to listen to the 100 times you've tried it and didn't work and why you think this is. I'm not here for that. I am not your therapist. I am looking to enroll you as a customer or as a business partner. There's only 2 kinds of people I have a conversation with, customers or business partners. Which one makes more money? Business partners. So I will invest time to have a conversation. Do you qualify as a business partner of mine? That's the conversation I'm having. And if not, well, you can become a amazing customer. Even if you say you want to do the business, if you don't qualify, with the requirements of wanting to be a business entrepreneur, you don't spend time in that circle. I'm not here to convince you to be one. I'm here to have a conversation. So here's what happens. Here's what used to happen when my shame loop, which I got tons of them, would meet their shame loop. My fear of rejection. My fear of being seen as sleazy. I'd been in sales since I'm 5 years old. When I got into network marketing, I thought sales was sleazy because everybody said sales was sleazy. I'm like, sales isn't sleazy, but they sure made me think it was. I don't like to sell. There's no selling here. We just give them the products. We show them the products. Okay, these are people making 100,000 a month, 200,000 a month. I'll listen to them. I'm okay. Listen, until I make as much as you, I'll do what you tell me to do. But I didn't understand the human side of network marketing. See, my fear was being too much, too big. I was doing presentations my second week better than the people that have been there for years because I understood sales. I could stand in front of the room and sell. But they didn't like that because I was salesy and sleazy. So it triggered shame loops. So then what happens? Their shame triggered. When I felt I was being sleazy, I showed up and my enrollments went down dramatically because people didn't see me as confident and professional. And now both our systems are protecting. Both your systems are hiding. When their shame loop meets your shame loop, when your shame loop meets their shame loop, you start deflecting. And no one in that conversation is transforming. No one is connecting and no one is growing. This making sense? So to be an effective entrepreneur in today's world, social media world, the emotional economy, today's emotional economy, you ever hear that word before? Today's emotional economy. Would you say people are a little bit emotional out there? It's important to understand how shame works, both in you and in others. So when you understand this, you stop pushing for a yes and you start creating safety. Because people don't buy when they feel. Well, think of yourself. Do you buy when you feel pressure? Can you feel the pressure before the pressure starts? You, right? This is why if you ask questions that force a yes and there was no chance for a no, you have totally you have just slaughtered that prospect. Let me give you an example. You ever pick up the phone? Hey, listen, do you like to drink clean, healthy water? What are you supposed to say to that? No. Send me some pig slurl. I don't even know what pig slurl is. But if you force them into a yes question and there was no chance for them to say no, if they don't have a chance to say no, they have no authority. And what happens when you take away somebody's authority? You trigger their shame loop. See, I'm never in control. People buy when they feel seen. How deep is your conversation when you meet a prospect? We call it building rapport. How old is your conversation? You know why when I do my introduction, I'm a farm boy from Ohio, started selling corn off a hay wagon when I was 5 years old. Do you know what happens? I trigger the memories in people when they were 5 and 6, when they had their first entrepreneurial. If they're sitting in an audience of mine, if I've been asked to come speak at a networking event, at an entrepreneurial business event, they're all entrepreneurs. And when I tell them my 5-year-old story, they have a 5-year-old story. People come up to me after the presentation all the time and say, I was selling newspapers when I was 7. And so now our rapport goes back from I'm going to be 60, goes back 55 years. They could be 50, goes back. We have a 45-year-old agreement. Connection. How old is your conversation when you start when you have an engagement with somebody? I'm not saying that's a technique that I've used that works for me. I don't know if it'll work for you. It would. The older that you can start the conversation, the easier it is for them to hear you now. Why? Because you have credibility throughout the entire years of your relationship. Most of you have no connection other than when you set the appointment and you wonder why you struggle. Oh my God, you're so good at this. I hear that all the time. No, you allow me to be good at this because our connection is older. I've created a long time rapport with you. People buy when they feel seen, and don't stay in your business because of the hype. Listen carefully. Write this down. I'm going to implore you to write this down. Literally, I'm going to beg you, write this next phrase down. They stay because of the healing. Period. They stay because of the healing. Drop an H in the chat if that kind of hit. There's a few of you on here. I'm going to encourage you all to hit the H, because if you're not hitting the H, one of two things. You either know this, you should leave, or two, you've triggered your shame loop, and you should acknowledge that you understand this. I don't see everybody yet. Listen, I'm doing this with you, to serve you, to be of value to you. I don't need the practice. So okay. And this is really important. There's a couple of people who still haven't put an H in. Maybe they're not near the computer, but I'm telling you, this is critical to understand. People stay because of the healing. Drop a 1 in the chat if that's the first time you've ever heard that. You're awesome, Silka. I love you. Drop a 1 if that's the first time you've ever heard they stay because of the healing. They buy when they feel seen, and now if they feel seen and they're not healing, they got to leave. They stay because of the healing. Think about your business. Think about all of your business. You want to feel a little gut punch? And listen, what happens when they heal? They can move on. That's another big problem. Physical healing, mental healing, emotional healing. Any emotion is physical. Psychological healing. Do you know there's some people who join your business and they stay because of the community? They pay auto ship just so they could be part of the community. They're not going to ever do a darn thing. But they love. Listen, when we used to do hotel meetings back in the day, there were people that showed up. All they wanted to do is, they got mad if you took away the sign-in desk from them. That's all they did. That was their Tuesday night. I get to meet people. Hey, Sally. Hey, Tommy. How's the kids? How's the this? How's the that? So the more safety you create in conversations, the more growth you can activate in your teams. And that's where real work, that's where the real work of leadership begins now, is creating safety in your conversations. Because the whole world is addicted to validation. Write down addicted to validation. And you become a space where someone no longer needs to prove anything to belong. Is this making sense? See, that's rare. That's powerful. That's leadership. That's who you are. You're rare, you are powerful, and you are working on becoming the best version of leadership that exists. So people are coming to be healed. Well, I just want them in business. They will move mountains. People will move mountains for a pin, for recognition, for a certificate, to have a certificate with their name on it that says you're special. Right? People want to brag. If they brag, they're seen. If they brag, they've got something special. So take a breath, feel yourself grow, and share with me any questions, anything you learned, anything you liked. Because this is what gets triggered. This is why laughter is very powerful. Laughter calms down the shame loop, because whoever controls the laughter controls the room. That's why comedians, if you study comedians and you study their timing and their tone and their speed and their pace, and you'll understand why funny ones are funny and some aren't. Some have their unique personality and style. Jack Benny was different than Johnny Carson, different than all of these other comedians that are out there. Right? Some of them are what do they call them? Physical comedians. The guy who crushes the pumpkins, right, and smashes the cantaloupes, and Gallagher, right? You go to the first 10 rows, everybody's wearing plastic ponchos because they're just gonna. That's the comedy of him. So, questions, comments, thoughts. What'd you learn? What'd you like? What's your takeaways? Big breath. I'm healing and getting better. Challenge with talking about shame is you activate shame. Maybe we should call it something different. Farfignugan. When you activate your Farfignugan, questions, comments, thoughts. Get out my 20 nutritionals I take now.
Hey, Sean,
Hey,
you taking too many nutritionals.
hey.
I don't know. Shame. I wouldn't call it shame. I would call it something different because I think that's like a totally negative connotation for most people.
Right.
Is
And
that
so
is that
I totally agree. So here's the big question. How did it become so negative? How, if the word, just mentioning the word shame, how did it become so negative? Because it got wired into us, right? I agree with you that it's difficult to talk about it. It triggers it.
well, I think, a baby's being born, they don't know what it is. I think it's people later on shaming you, and
Oh,
that's
100%.
like and it's given that name.
Yep.
Uh,
You learned shame before you could spell your name.
a-
100%.
and it's used in different connotations as well because people say, "Oh, you have no shame." Now, is that a bad thing or is that a good thing?
Well, I think if somebody has no shame, it's a good thing, because the person who's saying it is saying you should be shamed about this.
Right, because if you have no shame, it's like you really don't care what other people think. I think shame is attached to other people.
100%. 100%. Well, people tell me all the time, you have no shame about being a mental toughness coach. I'm like, why would you even, what shame triggered in you that you want to put your shame on me?
Yeah, that'd be a weird thing to say because
Right.
I mean, yes.
Or
Well,
we'll laugh. I'll go, me? I I'm should be shamed. Like, well, I mean, maybe you shouldn't, because what happens is a lot of times they do that to deflect their own, anything they say. Oh my gosh, you love sales, don't you? Right. So we wind up having to take their answer or their question or their threat and answer it. That's not even the threat. That's not even what they wanted to say. But we hear it and we go, oh, well, let me defend that. I don't have to defend that. That's why I'll say, really? Tell me more about that, and smile. And they'll be like, I got nothing. Oh, okay. So it was really nothing to begin with. Okay, cool. When you wind up comprehending, coming to grips, awakening, understanding how shame was programmed into you, like you said, by everybody else. You weren't born with it. You learned it before you could write your name, speak, or go to school. And then all of that stuff came in, we call it addiction to approval. Our shame is addiction to approval. I need you to like me. Otherwise, I feel like I'm no good.
But I don't necessarily agree that that's the same thing. I think certainly people want to be liked because they want other people in their life. So I'm not exactly sure how you connecting that to shame. So maybe I'm missing something. Is
Okay,
that the
so
case?
I totally understand. We want people in authority to like us. And if they don't like us, we feel out of the loop. We feel disconnected. We feel unheard, unspoken. We feel unloved. There's not everybody. When our shame is triggered, when our addiction to approval is triggered, it's if we say, well, I don't know why I don't get more likes on my posts. That's addicted to approval. We need posts. We need people to click like button to make our body feel better, to think we're doing good. I don't know why they quit. Well, we're addicted to the fact that we need to have people in our business. When those addictions leave us, all of a sudden we have what Wallace D. Wattles talks about. It's not about doing certain things. It's about doing things in a certain way. And if I keep telling everybody I'm a D tuning fork, if I had a tuning fork and it was the scale D in music, and I were to bang it, I can't expect the C tuning forks in the world to vibrate. They will not vibrate. No matter how hard I keep banging my D tuning fork, my 450 hertz, whatever that is, if I'm putting out the energy of 450 hertz with all of my words, with all of my messaging, and I want 600 hertz to respond to me, they cannot. It's impossible. They are not in the same vibration. So when Wallace D. Wattles said it's not about doing certain things, it's about doing things in a certain way, that is more powerful than most people will ever comprehend. So when we show up in our vibration of, I need them in my business, I want them in my business, I've got good stuff, they could really use my stuff, the opposite, the resistance shows up, because they feel, right, the energy that is who we are is louder than our words. That's why you could say you have an incredible skill, Silke, it's just something about that person. It's something's off. And whether it's days, weeks, months, or years later, the offness shows up in catastrophic awareness. And you're like, I knew that from the first moment I met him. Many of you have that skill. I knew that from the first moment I met him. This is why Jim Rohn says, never do a good deal with a bad person. Man, I don't really like him, but man, we could make a bunch of money off of this project, or we could do a whole bunch of things. You'll always get burned. Never do a good, because Jim got burned many times. There
Well,
were
I
people
think
that
many of us have been burned.
Yes.
And sometimes people for a while are able to not show them their real selves. That's why one of the things we say is you really get to know a person if you travel with them, because they are around you 24/7 and they can't really, be fake, so to say.
Well, it's exhausting, but yes, it's very true. I had You say that. I had a gentleman when I was on an interview for a speaking position to do the seminar work for estate planning. He normally rides with new enrollees, new people, that new hires, I guess they're called, for a week. He rode with me for 2 weeks, which I thought was odd, but he rode with me for 2 weeks, and then he came back a month later, which is really odd. And he came back a month later and spent the week with me, and we were together, right? We had separate hotels, separate hotel rooms, but other than that, we were together pretty much most of the time. And on the day 3 of the 3rd week, he's getting ready to leave. He's going to leave tomorrow. He's going to actually leave that night or tomorrow. He said, he says, I got to tell you this. He said, are you like this all the time? I went, I'm sorry. That's an odd question. He said, are you like this all the time? Like, what are you talking about? His name was Joel. I said, Joel, what are you talking about? He said, first week, I thought, guy's full of shit. Second week, going, this has got to be exhausted for him. I came back this week to a place we've been, meaning it was in the rotation. So we went to the same places. He said, and you literally remembered the names of the waitresses. He said, I thought that was all just a big smoke gag. He said, you're really like this? I went, I don't know what you're talking about, Joel. This is who this isn't a mask. He goes, no, I'm starting to believe that. This is who you really are. Joe, I don't know what you're asking me. He said, this isn't an act. This is who you are as a human being. I said, I'm going to take offense to this because you think this is all fake. I got 2 words for you, and neither one of them's happy or birthday. And he said, no, I just couldn't believe it. He said, I told the office, I rearranged things. I said, I got to go back out with this guy because nobody's like this all the time. He said, and you are. And we still have a relationship now 8 years later. He said, of all of the people I've ever met, he said, I have never met somebody who was just out there on the edge of nice. I go, well, I don't know what to tell you. But he literally had to come back. But so you're right. People, they can't hide. And the challenge is that if you're with them too much, they will get exposed. So this is where Tony Robbins says, you get rewarded in public for what you practice in private. And I can tell you, I know what people practice in private. I know what people practice in private. Why? Because I hear it every day, what they're professing in public, and that ain't it.
Well, and we see that. I mean, I hate to say that. I saw that yesterday. One word, just one word that was negative brought in, more. You were talking about likes. Well, more actually responses than I get in weeks of posting my amazing pictures, my my uplifting things, asking what they're grateful for, and so on. I mean, it is very crazy, and it still keeps going.
Right.
People, as you say, people seem to be addicted very much to drama and negative things of others. I mean, it's almost disgusting. I hate to say that.
But here's the other thing.
That.
This is why news uses the negative narrative to get you in. Because here's the thing. Here's why people are so excited. Listen, I know it sounds crazy. So excited about the word you posted. Because they like to see good people fall. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that odd that the joy we get is when other people fall below us? We're already in the ditch. We love when people fall in the rut. That's how people typically respond. So sometimes, understand this, you get to use some negative connotations to draw attention. That's how you.
I should do that more then.
I would.
It's really bizarre to me because I respond generally to people that, you know, are uplifting and post uplifting things and things I like, not not what I saw yesterday. I mean, and it's still not finished. I
Right.
mean, people
It's still
actually
showing up on people's
and
feed.
because every time someone comments on there, uh, and I have not responded. I literally, Sean, I have not responded to one of them. I have put hearts on all of them, but just to acknowledge that they sent something. But
Right.
I have not responded, and is questions. Some people actually ask questions because you certainly they are very uh
Curious.
nosy.
Yes.
I was trying to choose between curious and nosy. No, curiosity, to me, curious is positive. Nosy on the other hand is not so positive.
No, I totally understand. And they're negatively curious. I get it. And nosy. They are
Oh, they
absolutely are.
have to know. Oh, and you know, and when they and I've gotten a lot of messages in my messenger as well. And I say, yes, are you okay? Yes, I am okay. And if I don't want to share exactly what happened, uh, then they message back and say, well, if it's anything I can help you with. They're not happy with me telling them, oh, yes, I am okay. I mean, I am physically okay.
Right.
I'm mentally okay. But yes, I mean, they want to know exactly uh,
Well, and
why.
this is where you have to use your filter, because there are some people who truly concern and are interested, and there's others who are going, I wonder if now's a good time to swoop in, right? We talked about that yesterday.
Well,
The
yes.
vultures are always there. You don't see vultures in the middle of the highway when there's no dead food.
Well, and not if I ask what they're grateful for.
Right.
Very few people answer for that. I mean, it is very strange. But yes, it's just mind blowing to me. It is absolutely mind blowing to me how people respond. Or when it's the same thing when my son had the accident and cut off his fingertips.
Yep.
Yes, that also caused a lot of responses, but not quite as many as this.
Well, and the key is
One word,
again,
but I mean, one word.
so here's the market. So here's the marketer in me. One word is easier than two words. One word allows for more interpretation than two words. I'm devastated. Oh, now it's all about you, but
I
devastated.
didn't even say I
No,
am
no, 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 no. I'm saying
devastated.
what I'm saying is that one word is more powerful than two words. Mark Twain would say the difference between lightning using the right word. Here's what Mark Twain said. The quote finally came back. Mark Twain said, using the right word or the almost right word is the difference between lightning and a lightning bug.
What's
You
the
use the
lightning
right
bug?
word. You didn't use the almost right word. You used the right word for your audience to trigger a response. You didn't do that. You were just professing a particular emotion, highly emotional, not I need you to check your emotions. You were highly emotional, and people said, ooh, I can get on that train. Let me go find out what's going over there. Let me be a voyeur. Let me be nosy. So
Oh
just
my God.
understand the marketing of it. And this is how the brain responds. And if you know how your brain is going to their brain is going to constantly look for the negative. When you're talking about the positive sides of your business, all they can hear is the negative in
So
their
how
own
would I
mind.
so how would I shift that there? I
So
mean,
the question
certainly
is
when you offering any kind of service or business, you offer it in a positive way. I mean,
yes.
so what you suggest I change
So
because
I would
obviously people
offer
love this.
I would offer, right? So one of the big things, one of the benefits that your particular business model has is that the ability to travel at below wholesale, better than wholesale pricing. That's one of the many benefits. There's a whole bunch. So, a couple of things is to change. Everybody wants to travel. It's a $1 trillion industry. Everybody wants to travel. Nobody's traveling. So the question then becomes, Hey, listen, if you decided that this was a business model that made sense, what would be the first thing you wanted? See, when I do the 21 reasons in 5 minutes, before somebody says yes, before I personally enroll somebody, they go through the 21 things they want from this business model in 5 minutes. And then we go through them. Because when we get to the one thing, they can't say no, because nobody has walked them through that. Nobody has offered them the opportunity to go after the one thing that they didn't even know they wanted was the one thing. So what the shift is, where we break the emotional shame loop, is when we find out that, because everybody will say, I want more money, I want a bigger house, I want a better car, I need to pay off my debt, I got credit card bills. Those are all powerful things. Totally get it. But that's not the reason they're doing it, because otherwise they'd be doing it. The reason people are not creating more income is because of the shame loop that says, if I really go after wanting to buy my mom a house, the shame loop isn't buying the house. It's the shame loop is what my mom's going to think about me. My mom would tell me, don't ever do that. Why would you do that?
Well, only American person would do that,
I,
I'm sure.
I'm talking about,
Who would say, why would you do that? Because the rest of us would say, oh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for
but here's
you.
the funny thing. I've done this in 35 countries. And for women, it's the same thing. They're being shamed by an old story of their mom or their dad when they're little. It's just human nature, especially those that are Eastern European, right? There's a little bit more that because we got trained by the people who came up through poverty.
Well, I can't
Unless you,
tell you about Eastern European. I'm not Eastern European,
right?
but I know for myself, I would never
Yeah, but
say
see,
that.
this is why you struggle, because you are totally wired different than most, and you're hoping that they sound like you, and they can't. They don't connect with you in the way that you understand life. So I would offer you, that's an odd way to look at things. So I guess that's where most people are at. I probably need to understand that a little bit better, because it doesn't make any sense to me. And
So
because it doesn't,
if I ask why are you so odd,
say,
would
listen, well,
that would give a response from many people,
it
obviously.
would, but that's again marketing. Why? So you might post it on your page. You might say something. Why are people so odd? They don't want their dreams. You want to talk about creating an uproar. Why does everybody say they want dreams and nobody works for them? That's kind of both positive and negative. You'll get a little bit of some feedback. We'll just say feedback on that one, probably, because
Well,
everybody's going to talk about, well, I talked to them. And what they're really telling you is when they talk about them, they're talking about themselves. So yeah,
yeah.
it's a tough topic. But if we don't broach it, it still sits there like a smoldering fire that just smokes, and everybody's like, where's that smoke coming from? Where's that delay coming from? Where's that pain coming from? And it's coming from their shame.
And I mean, so true what I've heard many times over again. When you're offering something to someone, you take it back. And once you take it back, they want it.
Yep.
And I
FOMO.
we saw that yesterday. I mean, when something just goes away, people get very angry. And they never even used it for years.
Yep. Well, and that's, that happens all the time when they change laws in society. And, oh, well, I was just getting ready to do that. Okay. Well, the reason we're removing it is because there's nothing going on here. So it's interesting. It's fascinating. And the challenge is that too often we talk about what we can't have when we could be spending time about well, okay, that's interesting. The sheep get out. I could be going, well, why didn't I fix the fence? The sheep are out. Yeah, but I needed to really fix the fence. Maybe I should go get some better. The sheep are out. Go get the sheep in. You got to take care of what's happening. No. And then you adjust. So now the question is, with things that are going on in the economy here in the US, there's probably going to be more companies that are going to get slapped. And there's companies if you pay attention to Troy Dooley, there's companies all the time
Oh
making
my God.
decisions.
That man Yes, he only puts out very negative things most of the time.
Yep.
I've been friends with him for a long time, and
Yep.
sometimes him and I go bat to bat about things because I tell him don't do that. I mean, one time he called one of my friends, one of my good friends. He said, "Is he a scammer?" And he put that out there with the guy's name, and I'm like, this is just terrible. Why would you do it? But you know how many responses he got?
Well,
And
Troy is into marketing too.
I'm not sure what he's marketing.
Well, he's marketing attention. And if you
Yes,
get
yes,
attention,
obviously he gets much attention. He either angers people, and I guess he's the kind of person who doesn't care what kind of attention he gets as long as he gets attention.
well, you know that phrase, if it was good news or bad news, it's just getting attention, right? That's in politics. So I'm not saying you need to go off the deep end and be negative Nelly, but you proved that one word. And listen, imagine if you were just saying, no, I was just picking words out of the dictionary. What if you put up the next word was obliterated?
Well,
And
could you just imagine how disappointed people would
well,
be?
exactly. Isn't that so? Understand the human nature of the brain. What you're going through is a master class you created and understanding the energy of the audience that exists out there. There's people who made comments or posted stuff who you didn't even know were following you.
Oh, and people I never even heard from,
But
people
they
that are
listen,
not even friends on Facebook.
and because it was a public post,
Yes, it's
people are
always
drawn. And
public.
the other thing is that it was a public post that created viral conversation, and the algorithms of Facebook said we need to show this to more people. This is getting some good feedback. They don't care what it is. They're looking at an algorithm. They posted, oh, look at the trend. Let's show it to more people. That's how this is how we're wired. So if you're trying to go out and do good in the world, you're going to have to
Nobody pays
realize
attention.
you're
No,
going to have to realize you're being instantly defeated by negative. So you have to speak to the negative in a way that allows transformation.
so
Not
this
change.
is going to be my new way of marketing.
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
if that catches so many, if that catches so many people, I mean, why am I not doing it?
So I'm going to tell you, I have a large Latin audience, and one of the biggest things I did, and I let my team know. I let my team know because I was helping them to get more leads, and I could say it. I said, somebody told me that Latins are lazy. Is that true? You want to talk about 1,000+ responses in almost instant.
Oh yeah, I could do that with Americans.
Mm-hmm.
One one time I did, and Facebook actually took off that comment.
Yep. So all I'm saying is that people are, if you understand how shame works, and you can sit next to shame on a subway and go, hey, what you doing? Without going, ooh, shame's on the bus. That's the doing things in a certain way. That's called the science of connection. I know that people are that what I do triggers people's shame. Absolutely. It's how I get attention. But I trigger it in such a way that says, hey, listen, it's okay. I love you. And that's the frequency, that's the vibration, that's the energy that goes along with it. Is that your shame is going to be triggered when you're around me. Period. End of story. Otherwise, I'm not living to my full potential. My desire is not to trigger your shame, but it's to make you aware. It's to make you aware of something that you've had that you don't have to feel bad about having it. This is where people say, well, you're a lot like me. You're a lot like me. I could do that. That means I can live with my shame the way you've learned to live with yours. And that's the key. When somebody says, I would love to do what you do. And if you don't hear the next phrase, but I could never do that. If they say, but I could never do that, that's you triggered their shame. The worst comment I could ever get and I used to get it all the time because I was a jackass, is when I would come off stage after speaking or training and people say, That was so awesome. I could never do that. I'm like, look at that. Look how good I am. They could never do that. I'm special. No, I'm an idiot. The shift changed when people would come up to me and they say, I really want to do that. Could you help me? That's when I triggered their shame and then helped them walk through it. But if they said, and I used to, this went on for, I don't say decades, at least a decade. People go, man, I could never do what you do. You're so awesome. I didn't understand shame. I was triggering their shame at such a level going, man, I wish I could do that, but I'm not good enough. When they told me I'm too good or I'm so good, what they're really saying is I'm not good enough. And that hurt. I went dark for probably a week. My shame triggered and just felt horrible that for years I was making people feel bad. Now, there's some people who just love their shame, and there ain't no way in hell you're going to pry them out of it, even with a track hoe and a backhoe and a crane. You ain't getting them out of shame. They are stuck in. They are locked in. They are there for life. Okay. They're there for life. That's who they are. That's all they know. And that's how they get attention, is by triggering shame in others. Okay. That's who you want to be. Outstanding. Anything else before I go? What do you mean you're going? I'm in shame. You got to help me. No, sorry, Skippy. I asked you if I could get permission to help, and you said no. We're done. Hasta la vista, baby. I got sheep to take care of.
At least they don't tell you no.
What they do is they headbutt you.
I'm not sure if that's not worse or not if they have horns.
well, he has horns, but it's Teddy. Teddy comes over. He comes running over now because he loves his scratches, loves his belly scratched. Nura comes running over. She loves her head scratched. But Teddy, if I'm not petting him, he'll start pawing me. But he'll come in behind me and he'll headbutt me. Now, thank goodness he's little and he's doing it politely. But that's how they learn that's how they can get attention. They don't have to do it hard. So it's fun. I lay down in I like to go lay down in the pasture, and it's about 5 minutes. They're all around me. And even Zorro now. Zorro used to be like, I ain't, you ain't touching me. But he comes over now too. So all the boys come over. Well, Alex hasn't come over yet. He's still high on himself. The little white one, Lily's baby. So the two white ones, Alex and Anura. Anura comes over. She's just so it's like petting a cotton ball, literally like petting a cotton ball. I've never felt a wool like hers.
Aw, she's special.
She is special. And she's the one with the bad hips who was kind of squished in the corner in Lily's belly that came out with her hips. She's still kind of wobbly on her hips. So
and no tail, you said.
And no tail. So I always come over to her. And when she comes over and she's running over and she's jumping and hopping, I said, we never said you were special. You're not disabled. You are a powerful little lamb. Oh, it's funny. Cool stuff though, right? Cool stuff on understanding the shame. And so now when we understand it, we can talk a little easier about it without being threatening our own shame, acknowledging that we are triggering shame in others.
So what will be my word of the day today?
I'm curious to find the answer to that. Let's see.
Wow, I stomped you.
I mean, I have some.
Christina is laughing.
I have some. I'm trying to think of based upon the flow of where you currently are.
No pattern interrupt.
Well, it could be, but you've got an audience, right? They're going to show the algorithm to these people again, and if there's no response, then they switch the algorithm.
Well, maybe there's new people.
Right. Maybe finally.
But that's positive. Well, they like negative. They like shame.
But finally means that you've come out of it. And when people see finally, you know how many people would love to be able to say, finally, I've broken free. Finally, I've created the money. Finally. So it triggers the negative that they currently have, that they see in you going, okay, so what'd you do? What happened? and you can simply respond awareness. I've made some decisions. And now
Pivot.
now you're creating curiosity.
Pivot would be
Yeah.
another one.
Well, pivot, it was used too much in the start of the COVID. We need to pivot. Everybody needs to pivot. So pivot is a good word, but nobody pivoted.
Well, people don't like to pivot
Well,
because most
exactly.
people
So-
like to be comfortable. If
See,
they need to pivot,
devastated means you had a problem. Pivoted means I got to do something. I don't want to do that.
no, pivot means I no longer have the problem.
Well, but so that means, oh, you're better than me. This is what's happening in the brain. Just like you're like, I just said one word. Why are so many people responding to it? Because we got to understand how the word triggers in their brain, not yours, their brain. And that's marketing. We're not marketing to our brain. We're already sold on whatever it is we're doing.
Wow, this has been very insightful this morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you for being vulnerable enough and brave enough to ask these questions.
Well,
Is-
I want to get better and I
I-
want to learn. And yes, I mean, that's the most important. And I don't know if you saw the clip I sent you this morning. The group of Tony Robbins thanked me for all my interaction.
Isn't that cool?
How crazy!
Now listen carefully. So I'm going to take you behind the scenes. They didn't care what you said. It was within the guidelines, right?
Yes,
But
it
you
must have
created
been. They didn't complain about anything. No.
You created interaction in their world, which nobody else was stirring the pot. So you are now being watched because they wanted to thank you. They wanted to do what? Recognize you
Yes.
for doing something nobody else was doing. This is called, what's it called? Novelty. You were novel, you were new, you were fresh, you were something. You weren't taking advantage of the situation. There's 72 sides to every story. You weren't taking advantage, but you were inquiring about a potential connection for future opportunities. All they saw was the engagement. Lots of people like in Mexico. I live here. I live there. I live there. I know.
I've never connected in one day with so many people from Mexico.
So what does Tony Robbins say? So did they make that post in that post, or did they send you a private message?
They said it's not a message. I don't know where they posted it, but it popped up in my notifications.
So you might ask them, in if you can go privately to whoever that author is or the community moderator, is there anything else I can do to be of service? I'm serious, because if they acknowledged you showed up on a radar, and then if you said, is there anything else I could do to be of service? Here's what they're going to respond. No, just keep doing what you're doing. We love your posts.
Yeah, it actually sent me notice to make another post.
Yes. So ask. I don't know. So ask, who do you know in Germany?
Any Germans? Oh yeah, I mean this. Yep, I've learned a lot yesterday in just one day. I learned more in one day than I want to say in a month.
And you learned more from 2 posts, ends of the spectrum, than you have ever learned in 2 posts you've ever done before in your life.
Probably.
Devastated. Who do you know in Mexico? Those 2 posts change the way you look at things.
Yes, I'm very excited.
And from the first one to the second one wasn't a whole lot of time, because as another response said, you are a true leader, you are a true giver, and you deserve a lot more recognition. Well, Tony Robbins' team gave you recognition more than they could. So,
And the person said I deserve a lot more money.
well, yes. And so what do we get paid for? We get paid because we make people feel good.
But maybe not, because the people obviously, I mean, how, see, that's the thing. That's what I always think. People want to feel good. But what made people feel good about me having a struggle?
Well, because
Maybe,
they got to see that their life is better than yours. So that made them feel good. Their life still sucks. Everybody who posted on that comment, their life sucks. How do I know that? Because they all want more. They're in their comfort zone. Everybody who posted on that comment, their life is in a crappy place. They want more, but because you were worse than they were, they could say, "Oh, are you okay? How can I help you?" There's very few people on that list who could have helped you. Just
yeah.
understand this. When you understand the psychology of the brain, not the person, not the individual, not what we think they are, who they think they are, they were simply responding from their default mode network. Devastated. Ooh, their life is really shitty. My life is better than that, even though I don't have money. And they got to go out and be the good Samaritan, which they thought was, but they were piling on your shame. Are you okay? What happened? Are you all right? It's interesting when you truly take a step back and understand the psychology of what happened.
Wow, the brain is so powerful. I
It's
mean,
unbelievable. And it operates in a way that, will this kill me? Anybody saying, "Are you okay?" didn't kill them. But if you said entrepreneurism, you'd get no posts
no.
because nobody wants to go become an entrepreneur. They want to go help you when you're in a crappy place, because my life isn't so, oh, you're worse than I am. Maybe, how can I help you? How can I help you get back to, oh crap, and versus, oh shit? It's just, when you see the psychology of it. When I saw the word, I'm like, oh, she's gonna get a lot of posts. She's gonna get,
You did not think
and
that.
oh my god, yes, I did. I knew it. I knew when I saw that word, I'm like, she is gonna get flooded.
Wow.
Absolutely. Predictable as the sun rises in the east and sets in. So, because of the audience that social media is.
So that's why people often post something negative.
Absolutely. Why do you think these people who are doing politics post the negative of the other person? Because the people who are positive on their side want to go see the negative fail. It's just so predictable. The brain is so I say up, everybody just said down. I didn't say think of the word down. You instantly thought of it. I say hot, you think cold. We live in this binary world. Extremes, and social media is forcing the extremes, and people are so connected, but they're so disconnected. They're so isolated that we're starving for attention. And you gave people the ability to have attention to their own life, that it's not so bad. Because if you're devastated, oh my God, I'm not devastated, so I must be okay. But let me go find out what she did so I can avoid that. It's crazy. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
And then they don't like if you don't tell them.
Because they want to know more. Tell me more of the bad, the pain. I need to know the pain you're in so I can avoid my own. How
Oh,
can you get mad at somebody for not telling me why your pain is? Because I want to help. You can't help. You're in a pain hole yourself.
oh my God. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And
And
yes, social media really makes it a much more intense
oh,
about all the negativity. Uh, than it used to be years ago, because you only were in your circle, and you certainly wouldn't tell a person in the, well, unless you're German, we tell
right.
people negative things. We say you're getting too fat, stop eating, or this is a hideous dress. Why did you buy that? Okay, so we do that, but in US, I mean, especially in California, people only like fluffy, warm and fluffy and fuzzy things, and don't you dare say anything else to them, because oh, they get very, very upset.
Yep.
So, well, I'm gonna let you go. I know there's many other people who want to comment.
Well,
Who
I've got a
have
doctor's appointment I get to go to, so I'm going to be wrapping up here in just a moment. Thank you for this conversation. Anyone else? Last thoughts, comments, questions, takeaways?
love you,
Love you too,
love you
Sophia.
all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last thoughts, comments, takeaways, ahas, holy mackerels. All right, ladies and germs, there's your conversation. It's a toughie. As you get to the other side of it, it's no longer tough. You're like, isn't that fascinating? That was done to me, not for me. When that kicks in, when that shift kicks in, because you're going to go from guilt to shame. Guilt is that's a challenge. You can feel guilty about not being aware of this, but if you feel shame, then you go, I'm the problem. You are not the problem. You are the solution. So I love you tons. I appreciate you. I'm your head brain training, brain scrambling. Let's step over the shame line. Misfit. I'll see y'all where?
The next event.
At the next event. Somebody give me some Costa Ricas.
Pura vida.
Pura vida. We love you, Mark. And some Lydias.
Peace be with us all.
Peace be with us all and everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the queen of helping you discover your best version of you, Jessie Lee Ward.
Gurgly, gurgly, gurgly.
Yeah, Boss Lee.
Oh, Boss Lee. So,
Pattern interrupt. And the little white fluffy.
gurgly, gurgly,
Gurgly, gurgly, gurgly. There we go. All right, everybody. I love you tons. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you, family. Peace.